No role plays, no conference calls, no BS. Chris and Lorenzo share 4 decades of combined experience to help you become a more effective leader. This is Hacking Your Leadership.
Hey everyone, this is Chris.
And Lorenzo.
And welcome to our Best of Saturday series. Now that we have hundreds of episodes, we get a lot of listeners asking us where to start.
So we'll be selecting some of our most popular episodes to share each Saturday from our years of podcasting. We hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And Lorenzo, on this episode, I want to talk about a post that I saw from Steven Shedletsky. If our listeners are not familiar with that name, he was our very first guest interview on the Hacking Your Leadership podcast a few years ago. He's someone that we have always been a fan of. He worked and reported directly to Simon Sinek for a number of years, I think more than a decade, and he's been doing his own thing for about the last year and doing really well at it. He's amassed a lot of followers on LinkedIn, and he puts out a lot of really great content. And a couple days ago, he posted something that I want to read word for word because I want to make sure he gets the credit for this because it's really good. And then I want to talk about it because I think it really has an impact on leadership. It's impacted my leadership abilities over the course of my entire career. He says, "We can be both confident and humble at the same time. Confidence is the belief that we're good, that we have strengths and value to offer. Humility is knowing and embracing our imperfection, that we always have room to improve and grow, and that we have at least something to do with the issues we experience. When we are both confident and humble, we can show up as students, we can embrace and live with a growth mindset." This hits me hard because in my career, I've gone from, at the beginning of my career in my early 20s, having leaders tell me that my confidence level combined with a lack of humility made it come off like I had an ego. And then in the latter parts of my leadership career, being told by my leaders that I'm not self-promoting enough, that a lot of people don't even know the work that I'm doing in a lot of areas, and that is hurting me. And I know in my heart that comes from a desire to never have the first thing happen again. And so it's kind of like an overcorrection. But this is something where the balance of the two is something that I've always struggled with. I think it's a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great thing to talk about. I think a lot of times, to your point, leaders tend to get caught up in one of the two, or they have this belief that it's one or the other versus it being kind of both and applying them appropriately. If you ask people, would you want to follow somebody that lacked confidence? They would be like, no, I wouldn't want to do that, right? It's such a balance that's necessary. But again, it's more about applying it in the moment and understanding when you're a leader of people, when is the confidence needed, and when do you need to make sure that they all understand and feel comfortable knowing that somebody is in charge and somebody knows where we're going and somebody has a clear opinion, and then when are the times that as a leader you have to step back and learn from your people and put it out there and ask them for help or ask them for guidance or share the work of the team. That versus just taking all the credit for everything. So again, it's a lot of there's a lot of room to play here. So I'm excited to have the conversation.
Yeah, I think it's important because the ability to over-index on one or the other, given the situation and the needs of the situation, is a really important skill to have. And the only way to do that is to have both, is to kind of be able to master both of them as opposed to letting them kind of master you. And so if I look at my own experience, if my desire to not self-promote and my inability to self-promote is rooted in this desire to not want to come off as overconfident and having a lack of humility, what that says is that I don't necessarily know how to wield the confidence in a way that will not come off as overconfident or as having an ego. And so I kind of have to dial it in a little bit too much because it's kind of like a beast that you don't want to let out of the cage because you don't know if you'll be able to get it back in again. And in leaders who have this balance done right, in leaders where they have the right level of confidence and the right level of humility, there are individual situations where they will come off as having much more confidence and much less humility, but the situation calls for that. The situation isn't one where you're supposed to get the opinions of everybody in the room, where you're supposed to lead, where you're supposed to say, this is my decision and I'm the leader and the buck stops here, and we're going to go forward with this because I'm the leader. And in situations where they require humility and a little bit lack of confidence because we're working through something together, they exude that just fine. They come off with humility and a lack of confidence, but the situation calls for that. The situation doesn't want a leader to say, I know everything to do here. They want a leader to say, you know what? We're going to get through this together and I don't necessarily have all the answers. And that kind of gives off the right impression for that particular situation. So again, these are skills to have, or these are kind of like the traits of confidence and humility are just traits. The skill is where do you let one come out versus the other, and it is 100% situational on what the right balance is.
Yeah, I think a lot of times as you were talking through that, where it shows up for me the most, where it's very much in your face, is in like an interview process when you're interviewing a candidate or a leader. And you're asking questions where they're, saying like, do I say I enough or do I say we enough? Like it's kind of if somebody starts it off with like, I've done a great job over the last 10 years in this organization, and I've been able to lead teams, and I've been able to, and like it's weird to me that people would feel like, that sounds weird, because if in fact you were the leader, that's exactly what you did, and it's okay to say I, versus somebody who says like, we did a lot of work and we worked really hard, and then you're questioning like, well, did you do anything? Because now I'm projecting times when I've been a part of a team and carried all the weight and the other person didn't, right? It's just kind of, this is right in your face. And
Yes.
So it's interesting because that's when it comes to life to me the most. And so what I look for and what I listen for, and to give it fairness to the candidates and conversations, the questions that I ask will tend to have an opportunity for them to show up in both spaces, while not making it feel like they're having to figure out, is this the place for me to be confident and talk about the work that I did, or is this a place for me to be humble and share what type of things? So I ask questions like, in thinking of the teams that you led, like what are you most proud of in that work? And allowing people to share their pride. And I think that that's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I'm really proud of the fact that I was able to lead my team and give them, clarity and support and direction, so that we were able to achieve this great significant thing, right? And so you get to hear those things. You get to hear who they are as a person. Are they proud of a number, of a result, of a report? Are they proud of their people, their accomplishments, their growth? You kind of get a chance to to really see where that is. It gives you a kind of a peek into a lot of different spaces, but that's for me one of those things that I am like, it's right there. And I when I sit down with other leaders and we do maybe like a panel style interview or a group interview, that's always what I'm looking out for as well, is like what is somebody picking up on? Do they feel like they're too confident? Do they feel like they have too much humility? And why? And where were those beats in their answers that allows us to have a better, a better element of dialogue to make sure that we're getting the best talent, but that we're not being blinded by or bias with how we hear certain things and think that they meant this or that they were to that or to that.
Your example there, if a person answers it right, what it shows is their ability to understand what the role of a leader is versus what the role of a contributor on a team is. And so if I'm a leader of people and I want to say in an interview that that the team of people that I led achieved 15% comparable sales growth year over year for the last 4 years in a row. And if I say we achieved it, what it sounds like is I'm trying to de-risk the fact that I didn't do as much. But if I say I achieved it, it sounds like I'm trying to take credit for the work that a lot of other people did, when in actuality, I didn't achieve that. The team did achieve that. And so I think the right way to go about that, the right kind of balance between the two, is to talk about what your role is as the leader. So actually using the words, I led a team of people who achieved 15% comparable sales growth over the last 4 years. What you're saying is that, no, I wasn't the one out there talking to every client, every customer, achieving 15% growth. My team did. But to say we did implies kind of like a sharing of the responsibility and a sharing of the rewards, which is what you do when you're talking to your team directly. That's what the leader does when they talk to the team directly. They say, this is what we did. When you're talking to somebody else about it, you need to talk about who you are as the leader of the team without making it seem like you did it all, but without making it seem like you are trying to come off with so much humility that you don't have the confidence to say, you know what, I did this. I absolutely did this, and my leadership skills got us there. And so I led a team of people who did this, and this is how I did it. I met with every employee, once a week, once a quarter, once a month, whatever it was. We talked about what the numbers meant and what they're doing specifically in their behaviors. And I watched half my team go from low performing to high performing in a short period of time. And that's how we did it. So talking about your role as the leader is very important, and you don't have to de-risk it by making it sound like we all did this together. Because everybody on a team has different roles and different responsibilities. Speak to that and be confident in it.
Yeah, you have to have confidence. People really are attracted to confidence, and you want to be able to do your work in such a way that you feel proud of it, and that you are, you're confident that you can take on additional responsibilities, and that comes across. But balancing and understanding that overconfidence, and it was kind of really creep into ego, starts to blind you or starts to reduce the amount of insight or intake that you're getting from other people within your circle, which is why I'm a huge proponent of ego as the enemy, as Ryan Holiday, I believe. I really like that book, because at the heart of it is this. At the heart of it is that you have to be aware of it. You have to understand that you need it. You need the ego. You need the confidence. You need to believe that you can achieve. You need to be able to drive yourself. People need to see that you're confident in what you're doing. But if you spend too much time there and you don't take the chance to step back a little bit, or if you allow your circle to grow in such a way that all it's doing is feeding your ego and telling you how great you are, you're not bringing in contrarian opinions, and you're not looking to be curious or interested in somebody else who may see it differently or wants to have a dialogue or debate with you, how dangerous that becomes. But I think sometimes people read the title, they read the book, and the takeaway is like, ego is bad, and you can't. No, actually, that's not the point of this. The point of this is that you have to have it. You need to utilize it. It's really important to get things done. But once you start to lose the self-awareness, once you're not considering what are you learning? What are you doing? Which is what I think is like, I think some of the greatest leaders that I've ever worked for are also always learning something that challenges them. They're talking about something like, I just started doing this. I had to learn this. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And they share these things, and they're doing stuff that pushes them to be a beginner. And I think that that's one of the things that people love about martial arts and jiu-jitsu, is that you're always being challenged, and there's always somebody better, and you're aware of it. And even when you're the greatest in the world champion, you look at your mentors or those that taught you, and you're like, yeah, but if they really wanted to, they could jump into this competition and beat me, because they brought me along and they've taught me. And so I just think that those lessons are so important. That when you're trying to find the balance of humility and confidence, look in your circle. And do you have people that both share and celebrate you as you're learning and growing and being successful? And then do you have people that challenge you, that are honest with you, that are transparent, that point out your mistakes because they want you to be better? And are you making sure that you balance that dialogue throughout the week, throughout the month, and that you're a part of those things so that you're not getting blinded one way or the other?
Yeah, I mean, you said it right there. Do you have people that challenge you? Because what it comes down to, if your confidence level is too high and your humility is too low, what you will find is that no one challenges you. What that probably means is that the confidence that you're exuding when you give an opinion is at the level that makes people say one of two things in their own head. Either A, they must be right, or B, I know this person is wrong, but the level of confidence they're showing in it means I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to get into a conversation with them where I try to change their opinion or change their mind on it, because they are so confident in it that it's not going to go the right way for me, so I'm just going to shut up. Mm-hmm. And neither is a good thing. Neither is good. If you're a leader, you want people to see something in what you're doing and go, ooh, that's not right, and to point it out. if for no other reason than if it is the wrong thing, you want to be able to course correct sooner rather than later. And if no one's telling you, if no one's giving you any bad press clippings, if all you're hearing is the accolades, then that means that no one cares enough about you as the leader to try to save you from yourself sometimes. And so, yeah, having those people around you that will challenge you is a great litmus test for whether or not you have too much confidence or not.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to this episode's 1 minute hack. But first, a few words from our sponsors.
The 1 minute hack.
All right, for this episode's 1 minute hack, here's what I want you to do. Get out your pen and paper, and I want you to write down a list of things over the last 90 days that you felt very confident in doing. Things that you knew you were doing the right thing, you were moving forward with it in the right way, you had the skills, the knowledge, the abilities as a leader to get this thing done. Write that list of those things down. And then I want you to make a list of the things where you didn't feel that way. Things you had to embark on or you had to accomplish where you didn't feel as confident in doing it, where you kind of felt like you were winging it a little bit, or you had to get the advice or the insights from other people in order to get it done correctly. Write those things down. What I want you to do next is look at that second list of things that you made, and I want you to put a check mark next to any one of them that you shared that process with your people on. You went through that with your people and you said, I had to go through this and I had to learn from this person. I had to get this information from that person. And I had to get these things together in order to be able to solve this problem or to move forward with this endeavor. And if you don't have check boxes by all those things, if there are things that you kind of kept to yourself when you work through this process, it means that you're not, even if you have the humility to show that you had to ask questions, you need to be able to show that to your people and your peers and the people reporting up to you that you had to go through this process. What it will do is it will show your people that you understand that you don't have all the answers and that you are humble enough to be able to work through something even if you don't have the confidence to say, I can do this all by myself. Make sure you have check boxes next to as many things as possible, and you're more likely to have people continue to bring up issues and challenge you on things when you need to be challenged.
Yeah, I think it's a great 1 minute hack, and kind of like, be confident in sharing your humility.
Right.
like make sure that you go out of the way. And I think really, really great leaders that I've had have always been ones that have said, like, hey, yeah, like I have no idea actually, or you know what, I had to learn that lesson myself, or like they're very much very public and upfront with places they've been, things that they've learned, whether it was with you or someone else or last weekend. Like there's always this dialogue around them learning and them wanting to do better. Or if I'm stuck in something, that they're just like, hey, I remember the exact same happened to me. Same thing happened to me. X a while ago, and this is kind of how I was feeling getting through it. And here's what I learned about myself, and here's what I learned about the situation. Like, and you'll be fine. Like again, like sharing it and then building the confidence. I think that's just such an important part in that balance. And if you, to your point in the hack, if you're not doing that, or if you're not hearing that from other people in your circle, look around and really reconsider who's in that circle.
Yeah, I can name people, a list of people on both sides of those things. And so clearly, if a person is known for one or the other, believe me, you know that too. Think about that. Think about the list of people you know who you feel really comfortable going to them and saying, hey, I think you should consider this instead. And the people who you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I'm not even going to bother. You don't want to be on that second list. You want to be on the first list. And if you don't have a lot of examples of where you have made that relationship happen with somebody where they understand this from you, it is a very intentional thing. And if you're not doing it, then you will be seen as the kind of person who, somebody shouldn't challenge, or they shouldn't put forth a competing opinion because it's just not worth it.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll talk to you all next time.